Hey, everybody, it's Margie Meacham. Welcome to another edition of the Brain Matters podcast. And this is a really special one. I'm very excited because for the first time, I'm doing a joint program with a friend and colleague of mine. So, with me today is Brianne Thomas. She's an instructional designer and the founder of the Professional Development Group, which is sponsoring a professional development summit. And it is provided by her company, which is North Lake Professional Group. So, Brianne, thanks so much for joining me. And why don't you tell me a little bit about this summit and what gave you the idea to do this for learning professionals?
Sure, yeah, definitely. I've been in instructional design and professional development areas, I guess, for many years now. And I'm always, on Twitter and Facebook and all the, social networking platforms. And I work from home. And so one day I was on I think it was Twitter, and some people were tweeting about this event, which was a completely online conference for people who work from home. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to check that out. And I'll tell you, I was very impressed. But unfortunately, I mean, it was good for me because I work from home. But the audience of people that I talk to, clients that I work with, et cetera, majority of them don't work from home. So I wanted to, I thought that it wasn't something that, would entirely benefit them. So what I thought was, I could really do this. So I looked into a little bit what it takes to develop an online conference. And then I looked up, the top professional development topics that people are seeking for 2018. And I just kind of started thinking it over and everything, and just came up with this idea of doing an online conference for the professional development topics that are hot in 2018. And the conference is 100% online. It is 100% free, and it will be September 17th and 18th. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from. It's just an idea of, professional development, online learning, those are kind of my two passions. And thinking of a way that I could, just kind of give back to the industry and thank people that have helped me throughout the years, get to where I am, by offering them something.
Okay, and I'm just going to add to that story a little bit because that's how you and I got to know each other.
Right.
Is in fact on Twitter, I saw you tweeting about it. I think I was already following you for your great
Hmm.
post about instructional design. And I was like, hey, that looks cool. I would like to be a part of it. And I'm very pleased and honored. And with this podcast, I'm announcing that I will be the closing keynote for your event. So thank you for that. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited, and I thank you so much for, for submitting your proposal and being, helping us make this a success. You want to talk a little bit about what you're going to be presenting on? Maybe give us a little sneak preview.
Sure, absolutely. One of the topics that your research showed is high on everybody's list for professional development is emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
But the interesting thing about that is that our concept of that has changed as the research has evolved. And so if you're working off the original concept, you really need to update your understanding of it because over time, people have started to think that that means if you're emotionally intelligent, you understand your emotions and the emotions of others, and you figure out a way to sort of engineer them out of the workplace.
Hmm.
And that is absolutely disastrous. So, my talk is called Intelligently Emotional, and it's all about bringing the emotions back because they're there anyway. It's how your brain functions. As a matter of fact, the research shows we don't learn anything unless we have an emotional response to it.
Hmm.
So we hope to get a lot of emotional responses from this summit, and particularly from my talk, where I'm going to talk about, first of all, the science behind it and how you balance emotions in a workplace as opposed to try and engineer them out.
Yeah, yeah. And when you told me that you were interested in doing this topic, I was so excited because not only are you coming at it, with, you're talking about it in a new way. I think the other thing is when it comes to emotional intelligence, a lot of people, they go based on, some little maybe soft skill research, that kind of thing, and you're really coming at it from a scientific perspective, which I think is very different. So I really like that too.
Yeah, thank you. And that's something I'm really insistent on in my design practice and in all my speaking and writing is we are science workers, you and I,
Mhm.
and everyone who's listening to this podcast. We need to ground what we do based in science,
Mhm.
and that means sometimes we have to change because
Mhm.
there's a new discovery. So
Right.
I'm a big believer in that, and kind of get on a rant now and then about the importance of science and science education in general, because we wouldn't be here if we didn't have great science teachers. Most of us
Mhm.
wouldn't care about learning if we weren't inspired in some way about the brain and how it works. And
Right.
we live in an awesome age where we can
We.
actually watch a brain. Isn't it
Uh-huh.
exciting?
It is, it is. And it's funny, you talk about how we're all, scientists. And, when you said that, I was like, oh, but I was not good at science in school. But I think the other thing that so many people, maybe are not aware of is there are so many different types of science. So when you
Yes.
think of, chemistry or, even earth science, that maybe some people struggled with those topics. There's so many other options. And like you said, brain science, human behavior science, all that is a science too. So,
Absolutely. I think
yeah.
people don't give it credit sometimes.
Mhm.
Psychology is a science and it has a methodology to it. And
Mhm.
so a lot of what we learn as educators, it comes right out of science
Mhm.
studies and we lose sight of that. And
Right.
we need to give it the credit that it's due. It doesn't mean that we have to all go out and read all of these really dense, journal subjects because there's
Mhm.
people like you and me to translate that. And,
Right.
and that's kind of what your summit is all about as well, is bringing the latest, actually verified, valid information to the professionals so they can get a lot of development and upgrade their skills and their understanding in one place.
Mhm.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about, besides me, of course, yay, I'm excited to be there, but who else is on the program?
So we have a lot of really great persons. So people. So our opening keynote, she's actually the strongest woman in the world. She is in the division of strongest woman for when you think of like strongman, Iron Man, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, where they actually are pulling the cars and lifting the sandbags and the big stones and all that kind of stuff. And I've asked her to be the keynote speaker because she has a really inspirational story. She came from, and you'll hear more about this, so I'm not going to reveal too much. But she grew up in a small town on a farm, and she didn't really know what she wanted to do with her life. She became a teen mom very early, and I think a lot of people told her that she would never amount to much of anything because of that. And she, dabbled around in all different things, but never really came to a passion. And then one day, she fell into, went to a competition and saw a strong woman, and she thought she would give it a try. And now she's world's strongest woman. She actually just had a competition, oh, I want to say like 3 weeks ago, in Norway, and did amazing. So
Wow.
yeah, so she just has a really, really, really inspirational story. So she is our keynote. Then we have people who will be speaking on other inspirational topics, other professional development, personal focus type of topics, like creating your personal brand, why it's important to have a coach, um, uh, taking why it's important in business and in life to take risks. We have one other presenter who I'm really excited about, who is speaking on different learning styles and how when we develop learning or even presentations in business, taking our audience into consideration. And he actually goes back to the whole idea of like how children learn, small little pieces at a time, and taking that into adult learning. And who else do I have? I have a whole bunch of people. You should definitely check out the agenda. It's two
Yeah.
full days, 9 to 5, both days. So there's 16 total, and they're all different topics. But emotional intelligence is a real hot one. Learning design and presentation development. We have someone who's speaking on, running a accessible presentation kind of more as an event.
Hmm.
She's pretty awesome too. But yeah, we have a really good lineup, so I hope that people will find
Yeah.
it useful.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm posting a link to the agenda, as I know you were doing as well, so that
Hmm.
everyone can check it out and see how much there is. And I say this a lot, but we learning professionals are sometimes the worst at developing ourselves. We don't carve
Hmm.
out the time. Like you say, we might be working from home. We're kind of disconnected from each other,
Hmm.
and it's hard to get to those big conferences. It's
Right.
great when you can do it, but we can't always travel, and we don't always have that opportunity. But we don't want to be like the old proverb of the shoemaker's children, that
Yeah.
they're the ones walking around barefoot.
Hmm.
And I'm afraid sometimes that's what happens to all of us. So I really
It's true.
encourage all of our colleagues to join your conference, to invest in themselves
Hmm.
for a couple of days. And if they register, Brianne, what happens if they can't be there for the solid 2 days?
Sure. So the way that we've set up the conference is all the sessions, they'll open at the time that they are on the agenda. But if you're attending and you're not able to attend at that time, you'll be able to come back either later that day or up to 2 days following the conference and still review those presentations, as well as the discussion area, which will be actively monitored by the facilitator. So, just because you can't attend, from 9 to 5 on the 17th and 18th of September, you can still participate. And in addition to that, if you see someone that you really like or you want more information or whatever, you'll be able to reach out directly to the presenters after the summit too, because we'll post all their contact information.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to make some new connections and get involved
Hmm.
in some of those conversations. So I definitely encourage everyone to take advantage of that. It's a really nice design for the conference, and I'm sure it's going to go just great, Brianna. And I hope you make it an annual thing.
Oh, I definitely will. And the one thing that I will say is this is our first year, although we've had a lot of really strong interest for it. Um, but in but even in future years, my goal is for as long as possible to keep it a free event for anyone who attends. But even if someday we can't make it free, it will never be expensive. And what I mean by that is we hope that it will never be like more than a very nominal like $20 or something like that fee,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because we want to make it something that people who may not have the funding to do professional development, or maybe they work for a company that they have 20 people that they need to send to a conference and they can only send one. And so and maybe someone's feeling that they're never the one that's picked. I don't want them, I want those people to have the opportunity too, because like I said in the beginning of our discussion, I really want this to be my way and my company's way of giving back to the business industry, because we've learned so much from other people, that it's just our way of giving back and helping other people have opportunities to develop too. So,
I
um,
I agree with you, and I think that kind of thing comes back in a
mhm,
million different ways. So
yeah,
um, I'm excited to do that with you. So
absolutely.
how do people? The link is published in the write up on my site, but why don't
Mhm,
you go ahead and tell us right now the site to learn more about your company and your conference, so people can
yeah.
sign up.
Sure, yes. So our website is www.northlakepg.com. And if you go right on that website, yeah, of course you can learn a lot about our company. But also there's a link on there for the 2018 summit. If they click that link, which is right on the top menu of the webpage, you can't miss it. There is a description about the conference. There's the agenda that they can take a look at, and there's also the link to register. And like I said, even though the summit itself will be the 17th and 18th from 9 to 5, you can certainly view the presentations and everything that will be in the online conference site during non-traditional hours, or a few days following the conference. But you will have to register to be able to get that access. And that's just more for the privacy and security of our presenters. So. Yep.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And everyone can reach me at learningtogo.info. That's learningtogo.info. Or you
Hmm.
can follow me on Twitter at Margie Meacham.
Yep. And
And
for anyone who's listening to this podcast on my site, I also, below our discussion post, you will see all of Marty's contact information.
so, guys, it has been a pleasure talking to Brianne's audience as well as mine. And thank you, everybody. I hope to see you all at the summit because we're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to learn a lot. Thank you so much for your time today, Brianne.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that we've connected, and so glad that you're going to be participating in the conference. I'm very excited for your presentation.
All right.
All
See you
right.
next time, everyone. Bye.